Okay, it looks like almost everybody who said they wanted to attend is here. I hope everyone can hear me. Otherwise, this is going to be a very dull session indeed. If you could just throw in the chat if you are able to hear me, that would be great. Otherwise, I will get started momentarily. Got a little slideshow up here to the right, and I'm just going to run through that real quick, and then we'll go to Q&A immediately thereafter. So just to give you a clear sense of our agenda today, I'm going to go do an overview. I'm going to explain what's going on in case some of y'all didn't get the memo about what's going on. I'm going to talk about what we're planning on our approach to this being. We're going to talk about eligibility. We're going to talk about categories and expense types. This is going to be very important because I want y'all to reference those expense types as you submit proposals. I'm going to go one more time over our schedule, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how to submit because a lot of the questions that I've gotten have really been tied up in that. And then we'll go to question and answers. So just so everybody knows, we've gotten or will be receiving $6.6 million from the local fiscal recovery component of the American Rescue Plan. We're going to allow partners to identify and help us figure out how to spend this down, just to make sure that we're getting community feedback on how to proceed on this. What our approach is going to be, we are interested in, obviously, projects that align with the strategic plan of the county. You can find that online. Please reference that in your proposals. We're looking at maximizing all available resources. One of the reasons we're taking a slower approach to doling this money out or awarding projects is, we noticed a lot of other counties kind of before any of the rules were finalized on this program, they got out and they started accepting proposals and then they had to walk it back. There's a lot of this money going to other entities in the community. For example, the city of Brevard, the town of Roslyn are also receiving American Rescue Plan funds. So we're looking at proposals that maximize resources. We're looking at proposals that leverage efficiency. I'll just be blunt. Please don't send in anything that is duplicating a program the county already does. That's just kind of something we'd like to avoid if at all possible. If somebody else is already doing this, we don't want to fund a new project to do the exact same thing with a different organization. And of course, this is one of the big pieces of the American Rescue Plan's kind of legislative text. It's all about making a difference and having a lasting impact. So we want to see proposals that do that. From eligibility, any North Carolina General Statute 55A nonprofit corporation or a 501 type IRS registered entity is able to apply. We will accept collaborative applications. So if somebody is going to kind of go in as a group effort on a program to benefit Transylvania County citizens, we are definitely open to that. We would be excited. Just to reiterate for everybody, we want to make sure your principal place of business or your operations are in Transylvania County. I'll be honest with you, asking for money to do something in Haywood County, that's the whole reason why Haywood County got a tranche of this money. So please ask me for things that are going to happen here in Transylvania County. I hope that's straightforward for everybody. If you ask for more than $50,000, I will go ahead and put this up front. Based on all the compliance documents available so far, we know you are going to have to register with the system for award management. It's a pretty painless process to do, but it is a registration that you're going to have in place before you ever get any money from us on this. You're going to have to keep all your financial records for up to 5 years. That may be a different retention schedule than you're used to, but once you accept federal funds, you are locked into those federal standards. And so that is just something you might want to think about. Depending on the relative size of how much money you ask and what you receive and the relative to your organization, it might cross certain thresholds that will require public disclosure of your top 5 highest paid employees. That is a federal law that has to happen. The only way around that is if you're already disclosing it. Some folks put their top highest paid employees on their 990. Here at the county, anybody can ask for our employees' pay. So that's kind of public record already. But that might trigger for you folks. Subrecipient monitoring is another requirement if you get more than $50,000 in federal funds. And basically what that will mean is I'm going to have to look at your accounting system And I'm going to have to document my conclusions about, how much your internal controls are worth, how, adequate is your ethics policy, that kind of thing. So I'll be honest with you, just if you ask for more than $50,000, please understand me or my staff are going to have to really assess your organization. And this is part of essentially federal standards to kind of protect against waste, fraud, and abuse. And the county is going to be responsible for doing that. The period of performance rules, just to make it clear, expenses, they have to be for something that occurred after March 3rd, 2021. So don't ask me for any projects that happened last year. Unfortunately, we cannot fund that. It all has to have happened after March 3rd. Has to be completely obligated by December 31st. So if we're buying something, we have to have a contract in place, even if like the sale doesn't happen until after December 31st, 2024. And we have to have spent every last penny by December 31st, 2026. Then I want to make a note here on fiscal agents, at least one organization in each proposal has to be capable of receiving these federal funds. If you don't think that's possible, like your organization may not have the capacity to do this kind of thing, but you're still interested in being a partner, the county could also be the fiscal agent. We could just reimburse you after the expenses have occurred. If you are making a proposal and you think maybe this wouldn't be a good fit for you to actually hold federal dollars, reach out, ask me some questions. We'll see if it might be possible that Transylvania County can also be a part of the partnership to make that work, in addition to just giving you the money. I'm going to go real quickly over the categories. These are all built into federal law and U.S. Treasury regulations. There are 7 total types of expenses that can be used for this money. Public health, negative economic impacts, services to disproportionately impacted communities, premium pay for public sector workers, infrastructure. That means water, sewer, and broadband, revenue replacement for governments, and administrative expenses. I'm going to go through and actually show you when we report to the federal government what we spent this money on. We're going to have to report it in one of these 7 categories. And then there are subcategories that I'd like for you to reference in your proposals just to make it easier on us when the time comes to report out. Each of these categories has subsections that kind of break out what they mean. So like negative economic impacts can be household assistance, it can be food programs, rent, mortgage, utility aid, cash transfers, internet access programs. It can be aid to nonprofit organizations. I'll also be putting this on the website, just so you know. I won't put the whole thing on there. There is actually, this is a part of like an almost 40-page federal book that's been published by the IRS. But each of these sections are what we are going to be making awards to. So when you make your proposal, please reference these tables and charts, just so that we know what upfront, what you think you're actually trying to do, and if that complies with the federal fund requirements. If it's got an asterisk next to it, that this is kind of an interesting wrinkle in this. We're going to have to document that the program has evidence-based interventions, that the programs you're doing are actually backed up by something. And if we've got any questions about that, just let me know later. It's something we're going to have to handle on a case-by-case basis, because I'm actually going to have to individually document every program and whether or not there's evidence behind it. There's a little caret next to it. That means we have to document if the projects are serving disadvantaged communities. So obviously, low-income individuals, racial, ethnic minorities, that kind of thing. We're just going to have to document that separately, and that is just a part of the normal reporting requirements. Because they want to, basically, all of this is going to flow up to the Treasury, and at the end of it, the Treasury is going to say, this is how many, these are the kinds of people that were helped, this is the kind of programs that happened, and it's all about ultimately how this is reported out at the end of the process. Premium pay and infrastructure, obviously this is for public sector employees or grants to other employers. This is about, basically providing hazard pay or bonuses, that kind of thing. I'll be honest with you, it is unlikely to me, if you're a nonprofit partner, that you're going to be able to propose a viable project under 4. It also goes for number 5, in case you might have seen this already. I'm guessing nobody on this call runs a water and sewer treatment plant. If you do, give me a call. I'm very interested in how you manage to do that. Also broadband, obviously, because those are large providers, private entities. Transylvania County is trying to partner with those directly, but just for the record, these are other types of projects. And this isn't to say you can't submit an application on this. You're more than welcome to. I'm just saying this is a little bit different from the first slide in terms of what those is. I'm not going to be accepting any proposals under type 7 because that is for administrative expenses. That is to pay me for managing this program. So that is just, it's not really viable. It's for the overhead costs of managing this on the finance office specifically. So that's not something you're really going to be able to do a proposal on. Just to go over the schedule, we are currently at our virtual workshop. We pushed it back a couple of days. I want any written questions. Make sure you send those to finance@transylvaniacounty.org. We'd like those in by this coming Friday. I'm going to put out 1 week later a response to every single question we've gotten on a public forum so everybody can look and see what was asked. So that, in case a lot of people are asking the same question, you can see all those answers. Please submit all your proposals by September 3rd. And then after that, we're going to take it back before the Board of Commissioners once we've assessed these, seen if there are any projects that we think are worthwhile, that are viable, that can really make a difference in the community. And then after September 13th, we're going to start actually making awards, and that'll actually be a formal contract between the county and the nonprofit entity that's receiving the award. The contract effective date, obviously, is a little bit to be determined because I haven't seen any of your proposals yet, but I hope to. So how to submit? Just send an email to finance@transylvaniacounty.org. I got some questions about kind of conflicting language in the RFP. We talked about using a different portal to accept these. For all intents and purposes, folks, just put a Word document, fill it out, answer these questions, and then send it via email. Make sure it's got local fiscal recovery proposal in the title of the email. I tried to make sure to make this as simple as possible, the different elements of the proposal and kind of what we're looking for. So your project description, that's really about what you're doing. Your project plan is about how you're planning to do it. When it's about your results. When are you going to know if it's been successful? When are you going to know, if you've benefited folks from the program? So just as to what, how, when, who, and why. And please, fewer than 1,000 words with each of these sections of your proposal. You do not need to bombard me. I just make it as straightforward as possible and make sure that each of these sections here makes sense and it's contained in the single document. That said, any questions, you can unmute yourselves, yell them out, or type them in the chat box, and I'll make sure that I get them all answered. And I have gotten a couple questions so far. I do plan on actually posting all those just for the record again. Wow, seeing none. Yeah, okay. So one question: if interested in a multi-year grant, is that an option? Sure. Yeah, please. Multi-year programs obviously are going to be better. Again, for the purposes of a multi-year program, just going to reiterate, it's got to start. The expenses have got to start sometime after March 3rd. It's obvious. Be completely obligated by December 31st, 2024. Your final expenditures must occur by December 31st, 2026. So you can do a multi-year program as long as is within those 3 timeframes, if that makes sense. Other than that, sky's the limit. Kind of whatever you think's a good idea, I'm willing to hear you out. Access to the matrix you just showed. Angie, I will put this, I'm assuming this is what you're talking about with the matrix. So this is actually in the RFP document, just in a little bit of a different format. I will put this on the website for you as well. I'm going to put this PowerPoint up there so you can look at that. And that's going to be on our website that I'm using for this purpose. Let me pull that up just so everybody has a chance to see now what I'm talking about. Let me reshare my screen. So just for everybody's reference, I'm putting all the documents here on this request for proposals and bids page on the county's website. So I'll send that link out, make sure everybody's got that as well. That's where we're trying to keep it all in one place. Well, thank you, Brian. Brian just dropped in the chat. Next question, will you require special auditors at the agency's expense? So right now, I believe we will not have to do that. Now, obviously, all the U.S. Treasury regulations are not finalized yet. They won't be finalized until the end of September, so that could change. We will have to do some kind of monitoring. I might actually hire out to get somebody to do the monitoring for me. That is one thing we've discussed doing. The only real hard federal law is that if you get more than $750,000, just in case anybody's thinking about asking for $750,000, that will actually qualify you for the Federal Single Audit Act, and you will have to be audited and submit an audit to the U.S. Treasury Department for that. So right now, no, you're not going to have to get audited on this. But if you ask for more than $50,000, we will have to do some kind of review of your financial statements just on a local level, and then go from there. Other than that, that's all we had to present. So, if you're tired of listening to me, feel free to jump off the call, shoot me an email later. We're just trying to get through this, and I'll leave this Zoom open for a little while, answer any more questions that pop up. But other than that, y'all know where to find me. I'll be sitting right here at my desk, come high water or not. I'll probably museum, a new location with that building. So we're not quite sure if a nonprofit's in a new location building. We're not sure if that would actually qualify. I'll bring it back up. There is not a category in the U.S. Treasury guidance that specifically ties to acquisition of real property. There's just not. There is an item for capital investments or physical plan changes to public facilities that respond to the COVID-19 public health emergency. So in terms of physical capital items, I guess we could justify it under that, but that could change too, whether or not that's a valid category or not. So the best answer I can give for you that one, Kathy, is maybe. There's not a whole lot in this document that says purchasing buildings, to be honest with you. But you can submit a proposal and say, I'd like to buy a building. That's not to say you can't do it. I'm just saying I'm not sure how we get there with the IRS rules as they currently read. Yeah, and just to refer to the document I'm referring to when I talk about the expenditure categories, this comes from the U.S. Department of Treasury. It's got a real nice little Department of Treasury logo on top. And this is it in terms of what this money can be spent on. Everything has to fall within those categories and be reportable on those. And then the U.S. Treasury ultimately is probably going to send auditors around to check and see if it was reasonable, the connection we made. In our proposal evaluation, how much weight are we putting on number of people served? I'll be honest with you, we don't have a formal evaluation criteria. This is going to be kind of ad hoc once we've seen proposals. Everything's going to go back before the Board of County Commissioners. And that's because this is significantly above our typical scope for doing projects like this. So obviously, the more people served, the better. But that does not mean that a project that serves a narrowly targeted group of individuals is automatically going to lose out. We're not going to be purely looking at the math on that. I know that's not much of an answer, Angie, and I apologize, but this is kind of new territory for everybody in particular. Yeah, some nonprofits looking for a staffing grant. Okay, I guess it really depends on if we can justify it. In particular, under these categories, maybe like healthy childhood environments, category 3.6 for childcare, we could probably justify a childcare staff under that. But then kind of becomes the wrinkle is, then we have to evaluate, is it an evidence-based program or, can we document that we're serving disadvantaged communities? I'm not going to say no. You can't ask for local fiscal recovery funds that are specifically targeted towards hiring people to do certain work. It kind of depends more on the type of work being done than whether or not we're paying people to do it. Clear as mud, right? I sound like a crazy person when I talk about this stuff. I did record this as well, so I'm going to try to upload the video to the website just so you'll know in case anybody wants to watch it later. Yeah, glutton for punishment, I guess you might want to do that. But yeah, make sure I got all the questions here. And just in case, I'm thinking, well, I did get some questions before that some folks might have wanted to do another one of these, another chance to talk or ask questions. We will probably be doing another one next week, and I'll send out the same information to everybody. Individuals on this Zoom, particularly the only ones to submit a proposal. Yeah. I did ask that everybody sit down because I wanted to make sure that everybody got the information from me specifically about what we were looking for. So realistically, yeah, it's a small crowd. I believe we only got like about 10 or 11 letters of intent from different organizations around the community for the record. So I don't think that there is going to be a particularly long line for this. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Well, y'all are free to go. I release you about your days. Do we need to submit some proposals? Okay, we got some proposals. If you need to request funding for mental health services and capital expenses, please one proposal per organization. So if it's going to be a multi-factor budget hitting a bunch of different categories, just make sure you document that. Oh, I got a question. How much has been already allocated? I will look that up for you real quick. $2.7 million is the answer to that question, has been allocated, and that has specifically been to infrastructure, water and sewer infrastructure projects in the city of Brevard and town of Rosman. There's $3.9 million that has not been allocated to any specific purpose whatsoever. Somebody just joined. For the folks that are joining very late, I'll just let you know I am planning on putting this video on the website, and I'll probably do another one of these for anybody that wants to come back and ask more questions. We'll probably schedule that for next week. All right. Last call. Otherwise, just send me an email and we'll figure it out. This is new territory for everybody. You end the call in about 30 seconds.